Rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brian Hammond.
Here.
Councilwoman Holly Smith.
Here.
Pamela Cronin. Tony Lappy. Tony Lappy. Here. Jay Johnson.
Here.
Rob Wells. Gary Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Bill Sankey.
Here.
Councilman Nigel Bullock.
Here.
Mayor Dan Allers.
Here.
Excused are Councilman Larry Kiesel, Councilwoman Darla Vaughn, Bill Wychulis, and Fran Myers. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. The first item on the agenda for today is the approval of the March 16th, 2023 minutes. I assume everyone's had a chance to review them. Does somebody wish to make a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion is from Mr. Johnson and the second is from Councilwoman Smith. Do we have any discussion on the minutes? No? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, at this time we'll take up the public to be heard. Would you just raise your hand if you're from the public today and would like to speak? Oh, Councilman Flanders, go ahead and head to the podium and share with us your comments for the morning. And I guess it's probably President or Director Flanders, but old habits die hard.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I did spend a little time across the street, no doubt about that. Thank you, everyone. I'm Mike Flanders, the President and CEO of the Edison Ford Winter States, and thank you for allowing me to speak and say a few words today. I just wanted to give you a few facts that are very common known to all of us at the estates in the city, but maybe not so much to outside of the property. This year's an interesting year. We have two anniversaries. One is 75 years ago, the city of Fort Myers opened the Edison estate only, open to the public in 1948. 20 years ago, another anniversary, the city, after running the estates for such a long time, kept the ownership of the estates, but eliminated the Edison and Ford Winter Estates as a department of the city. The department was not specifically professionally qualified to look at historic preservation, look at tourism, and look at the things that the Edison Ford Estates was specifically about. So they did a nonprofit company to run the Edison and Ford Estates in 2003. And that's called the Thomas Edison and Henry Ford Winter Estates, Inc. So I want you to know our non-for-profit company is entirely responsible for the operation of the estates. Of course, it's city property, and one of the things about it being city property, the only way the city interfaces with us is if there's any capital improvements that need to be repaired, such as the road nearby or the utilities underground, they do participate with that. But outside of that, they do not participate with any funding whatsoever for the estates. So I guess my point here initially is we get no city funding from the estates. It's totally the revenue we bring in is our budget, and that's what we spend primarily to take care of the estates. And I'll give you an example. One of our biggest goals every year is we must collect near $2.5 million every year to generally maintain and preserve our 12 historic buildings and the 20 acres of botanical gardens. That's always a threshold we try to get to, is to allocate that $2.5 million mainly for that purpose of preservation and upkeep so that the estates will appear just as brand new and as good as it can look for all the visitors. That's on our dime. Everything else is on our dime also, which we usually obtain a budget and can have a revenue approaching near $5 million. But I just want you to know that we're self-funded, and that's the part of what we do. The money we get from the TDC is a great asset and a great grant that we get. We want to thank you for that. That establishes mostly our advertising and marketing budget. I think we do contribute about another 20 or 25% of what we get from the TDC to make the budget whole. But I just want to quickly tell you today that we appreciate the annual financial assistance granted to us from the TDC's Attractions Marketing Program. We appreciate it very much. I think we've been on that program for about 15 years. But we have seen in these recent times of COVID and hurricanes, when things have been much tougher than usual for everyone, that the funding for the estates from the TDC within the past 2 years has dropped 20% and 40%. And that's the TDC's decision, and we don't want to get into that business. I'm just here to say that we're concerned about that drop, and we just wish you today and ask you that you please keep in mind the huge positive impact that the internationally known Edison Ford Winter Estates contributes to Lee County tourism and economic growth. And we wish you well in your decisions and to go forward, and I thank you for your time. If there's anything quickly I can answer any questions you may have, I'll be glad to do that, or you can definitely email and talk to me later as you wish.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Flanders. Appreciate your comments today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else from the public that wishes to be heard? I see no further speakers, so we will move to municipalities to be heard. Are there any municipalities who would like to be heard this morning? Okay, I see no speakers, so we will move to the report of the Executive Director. Camp?
Good morning. Happy April.
Good morning.
Start with the bed tax. February bed tax collections came in at $4.3 million. That is down 46% compared to last year. And then looking at the fiscal year to date, which would be October through February, we're at almost $9 million, which is a decline of 42.5% over this same period last year. STAR report for the month of February, occupancy at 84.1%, ADR 243.87, and RevPAR 205.09. All of those, of course, are declines over the previous year. Our key data dashboard information on the vacation rentals, they're showing an occupancy of about 45%, ADR at 282 for RevPAR of 129, and of course, again, declines over the previous year. Passenger activity at the airport, just under 1 million passengers through the airport in February, a decline of 15.8%. And for the calendar year, just January and February, of course, 1.9 million passengers through the airport, a decline of 13.4%. I would like to invite Ray to come up and give us a communications update. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, Council. I'm Ray Saraceno, the Communications Director. Just want to start us off with a look at what we've been up to and what we're working on. Press trips. We're maintaining a very robust schedule of press visits to the destination. Some of our recent highlights are shown here, include the UK Sun, a group of domestic writers covering spring training. We had outdoor writers, senior citizen writers, and we also had an industry journalist from the UK. And sliding into coverage, we had the Voice of the Twins, WCCO Radio in Minneapolis, did a live spring training broadcast from Edison Ford Winter Estates. So special shout out this morning to Edison Ford. They were very gracious in hosting us. And as you can see, our resident celebrity from our sports development, Jeff Milkey, being interviewed by Jason DeRusha. Another big project that was a joint venture with our marketing department is Peter Greenberg Worldwide's production company. He has a PBS television program called The Travel Detective, where he kind of digs back behind layers of aspects of communities that he visits. This one here is going to focus on our recovery renaissance. And just as an aside with Peter Greenberg, that production team had been here last year before the storm and had produced what appeared to be a fairly substantial piece of reporting that unfortunately wasn't reflecting the reality post-storm. So what they did very kindly was came back and did an incredible job. They went all over the area. We took them around. They talked to a lot of partners. Just did a fantastic and very thorough job. So we don't have an air date yet on that, but when we do, we will get that to you, Council. And this is another marketing communications partnership, and I'd like to make sure I give a shout out to some of the people who were involved in this. It's Fort Myers Brewing, the Florida rep, Rick Bauer from 6 Mile Cypress Sloop Reserve, thanks Rick, and Captiva Cruises, and of course our very own Tamara Pygot, who was interviewed during 5 of the Minnesota Twins spring training games at Hammond Stadium. They did an excellent job promoting the destination. We really appreciate it. And this was part of a bigger media buy. So again, part of what we're doing to try to ensure that the rest of the world knows the destination is open and welcoming guests. And on an even happier note, I just have 3 words to describe this: is drive market coverage. The Orlando Sentinel sent a photojournalist to report on conditions in the area here at the end of February. And he was traveling alone, but he reached out to us, and we were able to coordinate some visits and some interviews, which worked out very well. He happened to be here the day the lighthouse was relit on the 28th, which was a great, just fantastic boon. We were very fortunate to be part of that. And as you can see, the next day, the photo ran on the front of the Orlando Sentinel. And it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because he's run 3 stories since then about our destination, the most recent last Sunday. Just as an aside, I wasn't going to mention this, but I feel it's important. He paddleboarded, stand-up paddleboard from Pine Island out to Cabbage Key and back. And if you read the story that ran Sunday, you'll see that he doesn't recommend that after all. But, he gave it a shot. He's a young, fit, trim guy, so he did really well. But, he blew my mind when I saw him afterwards. All right. And we will move on to first quarter coverage. We've gotten a lot of attention, as you can imagine. And a lot of it, what we're trying to do is sort of dispel the myth that we're underwater and closed and just not available. So we've had people come from all over the world. It's been top tier media who've covered our recovery, including Weather Channel, Fox Weather, Die Welt magazine in Germany, and of course the UK Sun, who was also here before the storm to report, so reported after as well. We're greatly appreciative they could come back to join us. And also had the radio group from Germany. A lot of folks were interviewed there. Again, thanks to the Luminary for providing space for us to conduct the interviews, Yahoo News. And as you can see, we're trying to prioritize as much as possible top tier reporting on our destination. So while we're delighted with the positive media attention worldwide, here's another way to look at our earned media results, which I think reflect they jog with the other numbers as well, and that's unique views per month. If you look at January, it's a nice robust number. February, we took a little bit of a dip. However, in March, we came roaring back, and I think the numbers will continue to reflect some of the hard work my team and I are doing. So we expect these numbers to increase. Okay, that's enough about external media. We'll talk.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Yes, sir.
The one thing I keep thinking of, drawing on the time that I spent working in TV news was, you do always love the anniversary or the big milestone stories to cover. And so I figure March, that makes a lot of sense because that was the 6-month mark from landfall. We know September will be the 1-year anniversary. I think, have you guys started to give any thought to what we want the message to be at that 1-year anniversary mark and how we're going to try to help influence some positive earned media coverage for that?
Oh, yeah, there's going to be, I think it's more of a discussion, and you're absolutely right, and we are going to great lengths right now. There's a lot of brainstorming going on about how we're going to communicate that message. Probably the most important thing for me is just to communicate. It's certainly a somber commemoration of the experience and the event, but certainly not something that's going to be dour or, so it's a fine line. There's a balance between the two, but yeah, I expect media coverage will be enormous, and it'll be incumbent upon us to ensure that we guide the messaging as much as possible.
And our focus has been from the beginning, and I think you've seen that in all the things we've been sharing, social media and everything else, is all the things that are rebounding and what's happening with those rebounds. And so the message, I think, when we get to September, and of course, we don't know exactly what will be back in September at this point, let's be honest. We have our fingers crossed on a few things, but is all of those messages of hope and recovery and resiliency. And I think, as Ray continues his conversation, you're going to hear more about that. But I think, our team is already all over it. Even beyond that, on the marketing side, thinking about some messaging around that one-year recovery.
Yeah, I concur completely.
All right, thanks.
And we're going to continue in a positive message. People are working hard, and it really is a renaissance, in my opinion. The amount of hard work that's gone in through all of the partners throughout the community, it's just been astounding to me. And the beauty of that is it's also astounding to the journalists who come here to cover us. And they usually come with one concept in their mind of how they were going to report and end up leaving with a vastly different one. So we're very pleased we've been able to help with that message. Talking about our top projects, not only external media, but we also do internal media as well. And we want to communicate from the ground up what we're up to and what we're doing to support the community outside of media. And among them is our Road to Recovery video series, which began right after the storm. Initially, we produced once a week. We pushed that out to once a month to try to focus and be able to devote resources appropriately to partners who are telling their story, willing to tell their story to us. So if you look, there's a little printout there on your desk that has QR codes, and those QR codes, if you use your phone camera, it'll take you to the website, and that's the bottom one is the Road to Recovery series. But it's been very well received, and we certainly enjoy and appreciate being able to tell our partner stories. And another of our monthly products that was weekly after the storm, and we've gone back to a normal schedule, is the Industry Partner Newsletter. And I'm sure you've all seen it. I hope you've all seen it. But it's a great resource for communication between us and our industry partners, and anyone who's really interested in what's going on and what we're doing to help accomplish the mission of telling the world about our beautiful destination. And Shellcast the podcast, also a monthly feature. So we're staying busy. There's 3 of us on the team, but we churn out some work, and we're trying to do a good job for you here. Shellcast is our award-winning podcast, and the latest episode that's out now talks about spring training. Jackie Parker, who is the host of Shellcast, actually spoke to a number of people from both the area, outside of the area, people involved with the Twins. So it's a great episode, and it's certainly worth a listen. And just as another aspect to it is our next episode focuses on public art in the community, and she's working on that right now. And lastly, our Industry Partner Spotlight is another monthly video product. Again, something that we are trying to show not just the recovery, but how people are operating, what's open, what's out here. So again, sort of an organic way to communicate what's shaking in town. And also, that's the top QR code if you'd like to give it a watch. They're short videos, but again, it's great storytelling by the people who do the work here. And lastly, we just had Canadian travel writer Paul Zander, who is from Phase Media. He and his wife published 2 separate magazines. And Phase Media, it's an important mention for me because it's a young women's focus magazine, and it's sort of a very much a female empowerment positive message for young women. It's certainly worth looking at. It's phase.ca, so it's FAZE.ca. But great people. They were here for a day, spent a lot of time here in town, just delivered the goods, and we're really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. In May, we have National Travel and Tourism Week from the 7th through the 13th, which we will be working with local media. So I may be coming to you for help with talking to them about your establishments and destination as a whole. And lastly, we will be featured presenters starring Miriam Dotson and Brian and Tamara at IPW, which is it's going to be in San Antonio. It's the Media Marketplace and Press Conference, and it's, to me, the premier international place to tell people about our story. We're going to hopefully have many journalists, overseas journalists, who will be there to get a chance to hear what we have to say and to tell them about our recovery and renaissance here in the area. And pending any questions from you, that's my presentation.
Ray?
Any questions for Ray at all? No?
Thank you, Ray. Great.
All right.
Wow.
Great job.
All right. I'm going to ask our research and analytics manager to come up. If you'll remember last year, I introduced Roberta, a new member of our team, and this is the first time she's going to have the opportunity to present to you today, but we will have some research we've done that we want to share with you, and it's certainly a chance for you to get to know Roberta. So Roberta, welcome.
Thank you, Tam. Good morning, Council. My name is Roberta Azzori, and I'm the Research and Analytics Manager at the VCB. Since I came on board, my focus has been to evaluate the research and data we receive and explore additional and alternative research. We are also conducting ongoing updates on the hotel rooms reopening in the county after Hurricane Ian. Currently, 69%, which corresponds to 9,858 of the county's hotel rooms, are available to guests. Since the hurricane, we have also been conducting visitor sentiment research to understand how potential visitors feel about visiting our area after the storm. In particular, this morning, we would like to present to you the results of the first wave of a survey that we conducted among our loyal visitors. The purpose of this particular research was to assess the travel intentions of our loyal visitors to Lee County after Hurricane Ian. So how do we get to our loyal visitors? In order to get to them, we embedded this survey into our consumer website, visitfortmyers.com. And respondents to the survey were people who visit our website or subscribe to our consumer emails or to our social media channels. Also, 96% of these respondents have visited our area before, many of which for years or even decades. We collected 692 responses to the survey between the end of January and the end of February. Today, I will only provide you with some key takeaways from this research. However, in your packet, you have the detailed findings of the study if you would like to dig a little deeper into the data. So 95% of the respondents were from the United States and 5% were international. As a result of Hurricane Ian, about 25% or 1 in 4 loyal visitors decided to change their trip to another destination for this year. And another 20% or about 1 in 5 canceled their trip and they have not rebooked yet. However, high visitation intentions were recorded among our loyal visitors, with about 80% of them planning to visit our area in the near future. The vast majority of them will be visiting within a year from now. Some key findings from the research were that those people who visited both before and after Ian, and those who visited only after Ian, are planning to come back sooner to our area than those who only came here before Ian. Half of those that, as a result of Ian, decided to change their trip to another destination for this year are not planning to return within a year to our area. However, the motivating factors for visiting our destination among those who are planning to visit us in the near future haven't changed. And warm weather and being emotionally and physically relaxed are still the top reasons for visiting our area in the near future. On the other side, the top concern for those who are not planning to visit in the near future are the quality of our beaches and after the hurricane, and they're concerned that their vacation expectations are not going to be able to be met due to the impacts of the storm. Here are some actionable insights based on the results of our study. As I previously mentioned, we saw that loyal visitors who visited, as I said, both before and after the storm are going to come back to our area sooner than those who only visited before Ian. Therefore, our tourism industry partners will want to tap into their customer database and tailor messages based on previous visitation. For example, the ones who visited before and after Ian really care about our area, our community, and are visiting before they do want to support our area by spending their money locally. So if you're trying to fill, your summer months, you may want to speak to those who have already visited our area after the storm. Those are the ones who are more likely to come back sooner. On the other hand, those who visited only before Ian, so they haven't come back yet after the storm, will come back later. The earliest they come back might be in the fall or even next year. So those are the ones that you want to reassure. They want to be reassured that they're going to have a vacation that is a good value to them. So you want to keep these guests informed about the status of their recovery and the reopening, in particular about the condition of our beaches and the things that they can do while they're here in the destination, so they feel that the destination is ready to welcome them back. And that was it for me. Again, I only provided you with the highlights of this research, but I will be happy to answer any questions, and also please feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like, after you had the time to review in detail the data of this study. Thank you again.
Councilman Steinke.
Thank you. Great information. One suggestion and one question. We know that 20% decided not to come based on the data. Another interesting thing to find out is where did they go instead. So if we know who they were and we can reach out to them again somehow to find out where they went, we see where everyone comes from. It'd be interesting to see where those 20 people went instead. Yeah. And the other is, since we know who is saying that it'll be a while before they come back, or they haven't committed to coming back again, it might be interesting to work with our partners in and around all the communities, potentially to put together some type of an incentive pack that we would send out where, whether it be attractions or our hotels or whatever they are, to put together in a marketing sense some type of an incentive to come back sooner than later.
Exactly. And as you can see from your packet, the last question we asked was an open comment box in which they were able to share. We asked, would you like to share any additional comments? And we got 282 long comments about how they feel about the destination, where they went instead, why they canceled. And in answer to your comment, we saw that some of them still came to Florida. Not surprisingly, went to Sarasota, or they went to the East Coast like Fort Lauderdale, and they're very sad to have done that, but they're all committing to come back once they feel the destination is ready. So yeah, I absolutely agree. It is important to provide incentives, to provide ongoing updates on the status of our destination and the things that are reopening, so that they feel confident about coming back.
Great, thank you.
I had Councilwoman Smith and then Tony.
Yeah, I was just looking, thank you, it's a great presentation, and I can tell you I'm really active in the Florida League of Cities, so when we're going, we're hearing from Sarasota area, from the East Coast, that they said, you know what, we're really busy over here, and we expected that, but also the people are saying, and we can't wait to come back when we're ready, and what I'm trying to send the message is there's a lot of places here that you can still come back to, so that's what we're consistently saying. With the study that you did, I'm not sure that you'll have the answer for this. Is this a typical, are these the typical percentages? And I'm not trying to, maybe that's something we can find out later. We had COVID, we had Ian. So when I look at the European countries that were, Canada and Europe that were strong,
Well, and remember, this was January to February.
Right. No, I
Loyal
know.
visitors visiting our website and, or on our social media channels or reading our newsletter. So I would say that map you saw looks very typical of a winter visitor to our area,
Okay.
right? You know, that's, like Florida was only 8%. That's, normally if you look at the whole year, Florida's a larger percent of our visitation, but 8% sounds about right for people who would be coming in the winter time. So it's, to me, obviously what we did with this, we've never done before. Everything's new right now, right? We're going through all these.
okay, and I didn't realize that, so there's really not a background information, so that, then
I mean, we know a bit about our loyal customers for sure, of course, but this survey was one we embedded on our website and then again shot out through our social channels, trying to hit those people who we know are passionate about the area. In addition to this research, we have DSG doing another visitor sentiment survey. This is just, again, the loyalist. We wanted to get our arms around them. And then they're doing research, and we're doing multiple waves. You'll remember we had that in your packet last month. Joseph and the team from down St. Germain are doing that. And we're doing that in partnership with Naples, saves us a little bit of money, but this was more of an internal based off of our website. So we're going to have deeper information, not just about the loyalists, but about other people as well.
So with the loyalists, do you have a percentage of response that you sent out compared to what you received? I mean, a lot of time, maybe it might be under 30% that you get a response on.
Oh, well, I mean, our database is 200. I mean, it's a huge number, Brian. You'll have to help me with that. Apologies.
Not for now. No.
Closer to 300,000 loyalists. I mean, subscribers to our newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So obviously a small percentage.
And usually.
Correct.
I've got Mr. Lappy, Mr. Kramer, and then Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, real quickly, these are all loyalists that you've done. Of the 692 that responded, do you know the locales of these people? Were they on mainland and Bonita, Fort Myers, or Sanibel, Captiva? Do you have any of that breakout?
We don't. We didn't. We wanted to keep it short. We only asked 8 questions in total. We didn't ask where they visited, especially because many of them visited many times. We noticed they really are the most loyal visitors because they said they've been visiting for 30, 40 years, many of them. We saw that from their comments. So we didn't ask them where they went. We noticed something from the comments. We noticed that, of course, all of them expressed how much they love this area. Many of them mentioned Fort Myers Beach in the comments, and Sanibel, but also Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Bonita, really all the different neighborhoods and areas of our county.
And to be clear, our goal really was, when are they going to come back?
Yeah.
When did they think I mean, that was our main goal with this survey.
Well,
Kept it tight. Like, when do they think they're going
Yeah,
to
I agree, but I mean, the person who might visit Fort Myers Beach might be a lot different than the people who are in Bonita or Gasparilla, just as a thought. Good.
Correct.
No problem.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
I just think looking at the STAR report's pretty interesting. So you see Lee County in the month of February was down 28.5% in rooms availability. Followed by, no surprise, followed by Collier at 8.7, and then Charlotte County at 7.1, with everybody else pretty much either growing or staying stale. And you look at the Caribbean, which grew its occupancy 21% year over year in the month of February, and year to date has grown their occupancy 25.9%, and their average rate up 16.4%. And we've been doing a lot of research as well and finding the same thing. The Caribbean, specifically Bahamas areas, are soaking up, I think, a lot of that visitation that was once coming to the area as a destination that's easier to get to again now with less restrictions, with COVID and everything else. And you're seeing it significantly in the STAR report going from 60% occupancy to 73.6% with a $50, $60 rate growth.
And as a reminder, in 21 and 22, those numbers for them were the exact opposite. So they're mostly what you're seeing there is rebounding, right? You know, a lot of rebounding from the pandemic because, of course, people weren't traveling, so.
I mean, Sarasota is down 1.2% in occupancy, so it's not like they're seeing a big influx from us coming up there.
I think, we keep talking about a recession and all these things, there's definitely some impacts. Also, you see the ADR rates are soaring and people are chiding a bit to some of this ADR increases for sure. No question that we're seeing that. But, even when I was in Germany meeting with the tour operators, some of the conversation was, the public thinks the hurricane hit the whole west coast of Florida. It's the oil spill, the oil spill in Louisiana, and there was oil on all the beaches in Florida. Same kind of thing. People don't know their geography or don't know the details of our geography. And so, I think that, we've talked about this before. When something happens in one area, it has the potential to affect other areas. Sometimes good and sometimes bad, and I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going to just have to watch that Caribbean because it's from the Northeast, it's easy to fly to the Bahamas and get there as opposed to coming to Southwest Florida. And they seem to be eating everybody's lunch right now because they're open.
Again, Florida ate everybody's lunch the last 2 years. We're leveling off because now we have all the competition.
Okay, Mr. Johnson?
I had two questions. First one is on methodology. So people that you selected, or it wasn't a selection, it was people that opted in to a survey based off social, as opposed to reaching out, asking people on our database to answer that?
So we didn't reach out to them directly, like you said, exactly. So we embedded the survey on our website, and then we, on our consumer emails that go out once a month around that time of year, we also embedded the link to the survey that directed them to our website, and we also posted on Facebook and our other social media platforms the link to the survey. So it was a voluntary, self-selected sample.
But of the newsletter, do you know how many clicked that link and went back? Because otherwise, it seems like we're asking people that use our social channels for their opinion, as opposed to those that may go to Hyatt Social only to book, or go to Tarpons to book something. It seems limited in scope.
So we, I don't know the number of clicks to that newsletter. We didn't calculate a response rate because we thought it was a convenient sample, which is self-selected, and we weren't trying to have a representative sample of those who read the newsletter, but it was a voluntary, self-selected sample that reflected the most loyalists. We thought that those who opt in the survey are the people who really care the most about our area and are willing to take the time to take the survey.
Great, thank you. And then
Response rate.
the second question, I think probably ends up with Brian, I don't know if you're presenting today, but one of the comments in the written section is, I feel we'll be in the way, and are we working to address that? If you go somewhere in here, you had the freehand answers.
I mean, Jay, it's on all the messaging, obviously. This is intended to be a snapshot, right?
Right.
This is not a...
Absolutely, and I just think it's an important point that we see that that's out there.
This is exactly why we did it.
And we make sure that we address it. It said, I think the exact comment was, we'll wait till things settle out from the hurricane. We feel this way, we'd be in the way.
Right.
And that's not necessarily the case. And I think I wanted to make sure that we're messaging that in our.
Yeah, we're even pushing out so long it's quite the opposite. It's not just, you come here to be in the way, you can come here and be part of the solution.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilman Folek and then Councilman Steinke with one more comment.
Quick question. Of your 692 respondents, are we sure they're visitors, and do we count second homeowners as visitors?
We had, I think, I can't remember the percentage right now. I have it in the slide. So in the slide where we asked them, have you as a result of Hurricane Ian, all the different options the things that they did as a result of Hurricane Ian, there is a small percentage that we saw of people who are second homeowners. I think it was a 1%. I don't have the printout, but it's in that packet. And it was a very small percentage. I think it was 6 people out of 692. Very, very small. Especially we noticed that because they selected other as a result of Hurricane Ian, what they did, which means that none of the options we provided applied to them. For example, cancel my trip and rebooked, go to another destination didn't apply to them. So they selected other as an option, and they told us in the comments. So I analyzed those comments, and turned out that it was 6 people who said that they were second homeowners and their home was affected by the hurricane, so they were waiting for their repairs to their home to be done to be able to come back.
Just to clarify, 70% of the people had visited only before Ian, 24% of the people had visited before and after Ian, 4% of the people had never visited. So there's your context, they're visitors. I mean, only 4% of them said they had never been here.
I don't discount what they're
No.
giving us. What I'm saying is I don't want to see that skew.
Correct. And again, all we're trying to do, folks, is get a snapshot here. We're digging in real deep. That's great. Let's dig in. But this was intended to give us a messaging snapshot so that we could effectively speak to our loyal. We believe that we need to hang our hat right now on our loyalist visitors. We want people here this summer. It's going to be a challenge, right? We all know that. So this was intended to give us some messaging points for that effort.
Well, I know we got 3 more reports left to receive. We'll make this the last question. Then.
Just a quick one with regard to Councilmember Smith's international interest. Do we have, when we get the report for airport passenger count, do we get that domestic and international? Is there any separation in that?
I'd have to defer to Ben on that. We do not get the report we get does not have a separation.
It'd be interesting to see if the international travel fell, as it relates to those that came to our area.
I know one thing for sure.
Visitors.
With the airport counts, they actually monitor the seats that the airlines are actually sending into the market, and so I'm sure they could actually break that out for you and get that kind of data. Yeah, we can take a look at that. But
through our visitor intercept survey, we had identified visitors who are international versus domestic. So we're doing that on a quarterly basis. Not in this.
Okay.
But otherwise. All right, yes, sir.
We've got 3 more reports to go, and I do want to get us out of here pretty timely today. So let's move to the sales report with Jill and Charm.
Thank you, Roberta.
Great report, Roberta. And welcome and congratulations on your first presentation to the TDC. I don't think she heard me.
Somebody else is talking to. Jill, please.
Good morning, Council. I'm Jill Vance, Director of Sales, and here's a recap of the first 6 months of this fiscal year's sales goals. Meeting leads sent and meeting leads booked by our hotel partners are still very strong, and we are ahead of pace. We are behind pace for the number of site attendees to the destination and for wedding leads sent. However, our marketing team did reactivate our weddings meeting in February, and we are seeing an increase in new wedding leads. And we are finally on pace to attain our goals for destination education and community engagement. Okay, group media, here are just a couple examples from last quarter. We restarted our meetings media in mid-January and hit the ground running with platforms and publications like Sojourn and Florida Trend and even the meeting magazines. And here's an example of a dedicated email that we launched with ePro Direct. This was a March media buy and was sent to almost 25,000 meeting planners, reiterating that we are open for business. And for our travel trade media, we have updated post-Ian our branded specialty course in North Star's Travel Agent Academy. This has been a great resource for travel advisors. Chapter 1 features what our destination has to offer to all visitors, and Chapter 2 features our destination weddings. After each section is a short quiz and ends with a final exam. Almost 1,800 travel advisors have graduated from our academy as certified destination specialists. And for our weddings media, here's a digital banner and a native ad with The Knot. The Knot really produces well for us. In fact, February, the native ad drove a click-through rate of more than 2 times the benchmark. And here's some of our group sales team's activities for last quarter. On top is Candace with Jenna Adams from the Luminary Hotel at the Religious Conference and Management Association show. There were over 450 faith-based meeting planners in attendance, and they were all very, very eager to hear about our recovery progress from Hurricane Ian. In addition to one-on-one appointments and networking events, Candace also conducted a client event, which resulted in sourcing an RFP with 600 room nights. So far, 18 leads totaling almost 12,000 room nights have already been sent to our hotel partners as a direct result of this show. We also were able to geofence this show and retargeted display ads to attendees for 1 month following the show. The click-through rate for the desktop banner was more than double the benchmark. Some travel trade activities for last quarter. Jen conducted roundtable presentations to over 250 travel advisors at the Florida Peninsula shows in Tampa, Orlando, and Melbourne, Florida. Travel advisors were thrilled to hear that 69% of our hotel rooms have reopened and that the Key West Express is up and running from their Fort Myers Beach location. Next, the upcoming activities for the domestic sales team. For April, even as we speak, Jerry and our co-op partner, Sandra Kennevan with the Westin Cape Coral, are attending the Destination Celebration shows. These are a series of meeting planner events in cities throughout the Midwest. Each event attracts over 100 high-level meeting planners, and we consistently get good results from this show. Jerry will also be attending in May the Prestige Partner Conference. So Prestige Global Meeting Source is a smaller third-party planning company. They're headquartered in Minneapolis and have about almost 80 meeting planners. Thanks to Jerry's efforts, they've become our #2 top producing third-party planner for lead generation. And finally, for June, Lamont Associates is having their Associate Exchange Summit. So following Hurricane Ian, Lamont generously gave us a premier partnership at no cost. One of the many benefits of this partnership is direct access to their meeting planners by attending the 3-day reverse trade show. Lamont is also a smaller third-party planning company. They're headquartered in Texas, and they have over 40 meeting planners. And this is a new show for us, so we're really looking forward to the results. And there's one more thing that happened last quarter that I do want to share with you. I became a grandmother for the 2nd time. Her name is Harper Ryan Vance, and she is perfect. Are there any questions before I turn it over to our international?
Your last slide was my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. I couldn't help it. Here's Charm Evans with our international activities.
Thank you.
Morning, Charm.
Good morning, Council. Charm Evans, VCB Global Sales Manager, here to report on January through March international sales activities. We continue to communicate with and educate the travel trade and consumers on the destination's recovery process. We are also continuing our international approach of prioritizing Canada, Germany, and the UK markets through our marketing activities. As mentioned last month in Brian's presentation, we launched an always-on marketing strategy for the UK and Germany, and will be relaunching Canada in the fall. For the first quarter of 2023, our co-op marketing activities have continued, and we've conducted 5 webinars across the markets, attended consumer and travel trade events, such as the January Visit Florida reception in Toronto, Discover America and Brand USA's joint Canada event that was held in February, Visit USA's consumer show in Munich, and Visit Florida's Florida Huddle event, in which we had 30 pre-scheduled meetings with international tour operators, receptive tour operators, airlines, and online travel agencies. Additionally, the VCB and the Western Cape Coral hosted a joint dinner with a variety of travel buyers from Florida Huddle and Florida Encounter, which is a meeting planner event that was held concurrently. In March, Tamara Pygott and the Germany-based representatives attended ITB Berlin, one of the largest global B2B travel trade events. They held 40 one-on-one meetings with tour operators and the travel trade, conducted radio and television interviews, and hosted a Eurowings Discover event with our Port Authority partners. The collaboration between the VCB, Eurowings Discover, and the Port Authority continues to be important as we strive to increase the demand of RSW flights through our sales and marketing activities. The ITB discussions primarily focused on the destination's post-hurricane conditions, questions about which local businesses were open, status of coastal lodgings in their future, the ability of marketing materials such as video and current images, and questions about familiarization trips for late 2023 and 24. Tamara and the team encouraged the international travel trade to continue sending visitors to the area. During the coming months, we will be attending the Travel Bulletin's Family Holiday Virtual event, which is one of the UK's leading weekly travel trade publications for travel agents. We're also attending Eurowings Discover Florida Roadshow with Visit Florida, and that will be taking place across 5 German cities where we have the opportunity to network and present to 40 to 50 agents in each location. And finally, we'll be attending USTA's IPW in San Antonio, Texas. This is another large appointment-based show where we will meet with the international buyers and travel journalists from over 70 countries. We take part in pre-scheduled appointments over the course of 3 days, and we will also be hosting a press conference, as Ray mentioned, about Lee County. We are also happy to have the Western Cape Coral attending as a partner at this year's show. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Mr. Wells.
It's kind of a general question. Do you get a lot of, if there was a big news story on a disaster that happened in Germany, I may or may not know it happened or remember it happened. When you're overseas or you're dealing with a lot of overseas people, is it really on their minds, this hurricane, or is it something that they don't know about that sometimes you educate them about?
So it's a little bit of both. They are aware of our destination and what happened here. And like Tam mentioned earlier, it's all of Florida, not just really our location. And they do ask a lot of questions. Some of them still think that we are devastated from the hurricane. So we do have to continuously educate them and invite them and entice them to come visit.
And the backside of that is, some of them are like, I can't get in touch with anybody at the sundial. Why? So, I mean, it goes both ways. Some of them know a lot, and some of them know very little. So it's, the constant education.
Continuous.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charm. We're going to bring up Simone with the Visitor Services Report.
Good morning, Council. I'm very happy to be here to report on visitor services for the second quarter, the period from January to February of this year. During that time, our volunteers assisted 119,143 visitors. They worked 8,377 hours at a value of $246,778. They assisted at 6 different special projects supporting the community and conference assistance. Just to give you an idea, the top requests they had during that time period in terms of accommodations was the Drury Inn, Crown Plaza, and Home 2 Suites at the airport. Top attractions, aside from the beaches, was the Edison and Fort Winter Estates, 6 Mile Cypress Slough, and Manatee Park. Top activities were hiking, baseball, of course, and shopping. Some of the highlights that our volunteers assisted at, they were at Art Fest Fort Myers, USA Men's Gymnastics. They greeted the Avelo Airlines inaugural flight and participated in the Port Authority's mass casualty incident event. Our Manatee and volunteers greeted visitors at RSW for Manatee Appreciation Day last month. And they were able to attend various destination education training sessions, such as at the Homewood Suites, Bonita Springs and Wonder Gardens, Sun Harvest Citrus and Hammond Stadium, Koreshan State Park, Weston Cape Coral Resort, attended baseball games, and a behind-the-scenes airport tour. You saw the number of 119,000 visitors that they assisted. Well, I just wanted to show the slide. There's so much more behind that that happens every single day, 7 days a week that our volunteers get involved in. And looking ahead, we look forward to hosting the 23rd Annual Elaine McLaughlin Outstanding Hospitality Service Award, the awards, on August 24th. We are open for nominations. If you know of anyone who deserves to be recognized, we'd love to include them. Nominate them at eawards.org. We do have we'll have a Hurricane Hero category this year. So anybody who did something outstanding related to Hurricane Ian, we definitely want to hear about it. I know so much good has happened. We want to recognize those individuals. I want to thank you, and I want to thank so many of you who were at our volunteer appreciation luncheon yesterday. We really, really appreciate your support of being there. Thank you. If there is any questions, that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Simone. I'll have Nancy give us a quick update on the beach and shoreline efforts this year.
Good morning, Council. I do not have a presentation, but in your packet on your iPad, there's a memo, and my goal this morning is to just update you on the beach and shoreline review process in preparation for the April 26th Beach and Shoreline Workshop that hopefully you'll all attend. The Beach and Shoreline program opened in January, and there were 20 requests submitted from our partners. 17 of them have been deemed eligible through the program by the County Attorney's Office. The Coastal Advisory Council met on April 3rd, and they also provide you comments and requested some clarification from some of our partners. So along with the memo on your iPad, there is a list of the requests. There, again, I said there were 20 requests, 17 eligible, and they total $12,531,472. So that is the funding requested. We hope to have the available budget for next fiscal year to you prior to the April 26th review workshop. The other attachment in your packet is the legal determinations and the Coastal Advisory Council comments so that you can see how the review process works. Everything has to be eligible through the Florida state statute, and that's the legal determination. The link in your memo, and for anybody else that's interested, Lee VCB's Beach and Shoreline page, there is a button where you can click and review all of the requests, all 20 of them, as well as all the backup information. So these documents are to make it easier for you to prepare for the April 26th workshop. I will be sending you a link to that Dropbox with all the requests this afternoon. And any questions and discussion can happen at the April 26th meeting. But if you have questions for me now, I'm happy to try to answer them. Rob?
It's probably in this packet. I guess Tony and I are still old school because we are the only ones that get this
Yes.
packet.
I'll be old school with you.
While we prefer to try to not kill too many trees and review online, if you would like a binder, like Mr. Lappy has requested, I can make one for you.
So I'm assuming that there's somewhere in here has got, I mean, it's a little difficult to do anything that would be a new request. Do you have a pretty good idea of what the maintenance issues that we still have lingering from the storm that we're not getting reimbursement on would be coming into this?
So each of the requesting agencies was asked to declare what are waiting on insurance-wise or from FEMA. Okay. Several of them have indicated what they know. Most of the requests are for, it's again for next fiscal year. Most of the requests are for maintenance. There are some repairs indicated, like roofs and whatnot, on some of the beach and shoreline facilities. But again, the requesting agencies will be present on April 26th and can clarify anything that's not already clarified in your binder, in the Dropbox.
We tried to anticipate that for sure, because it's tricky, right? I mean, we certainly don't want to pay for something they're going to get reimbursed, we don't want to allocate funds for something that there's going to be a reimbursement for.
And we've asked for reassurance that maintenance expenses can only go to those facilities that are open. There's a few that we need to assure that they'll be open October 1st to get funding through this program.
And I would just say, to speak to that point, I think that's really important to understand during this, or there should be some sort of a qualifier that says, if you are getting a reimbursement, that needs to be returned. That can be done.
Well,
so, but reimbursement is such a long time, you don't know if it's years, but I'll make sure that we check.
Something for us to work for probably on the interlocal agreement side, but to be clear, the community pays and then we reimburse those expenses. So if they have another way of getting those funds, obviously, they'll use those. Hopefully they'll get them before they get ours. Yes. Gotcha. All right. With that, I appreciate it, Nancy, unless someone else has a question. I want to give you a couple of updates from my end. First, I want to introduce to you our newest staff member, Allison Geeson, who is our product development coordinator. Allison is behind me. Allison comes to us to assist us with all aspects of our product development initiatives, including the Tourist Development Council grant funding programs. Allison comes to us from the town of Fort Myers Beach, where she was the director of cultural parks and recreation. She was also the museum director at the Mound House, and before that she was the chief curator at the Edison Ford Winter Estates, and was assistant director and curator of collections for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. She is a graduate of University of Tennessee at Chattanooga with her bachelor's degree and a master's degree from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And she and her husband have lived in this area for quite a number of years. They've been married for 20 years, and they have a rescue dog named Ace. So welcome, Allison. Most of you probably know her from her previous role, but we're thrilled to have her assist us with these very important funding programs and continue the tradition of having people who have been recipients on the other side help with that process. I think it makes an inordinate difference for the agencies requesting funds, so we're really pleased to have Allison with us. And then, the next thing I want to share with you, and I'm going to have to ask Nick and Amanda to pull up an image for me. This doesn't happen very often, but occasionally we get a share that is worthy of sharing at TDC. And a gentleman reached out to Ben Abus from Public Safety and shared this email that I'm going to read you, and I'm going to try to cut some of it out because it's a full page, and I know we've already been long today, but he says, "My name is Brad Peisig. On March 4th, we were in Lee County for my daughter's wedding. We are from Wisconsin, and we were definitely not used to 85-degree weather and the humidity. The ceremony was to be held at 4 p.m. My wife had been outside working on helping set up for the wedding. She had been drinking some water, but not enough. About 11 a.m., she became very lightheaded. It did not take her long to go into a state of not knowing what was going on. My daughter called 911, and within minutes, there were 2 firemen and an EMT person there. I apologize, I didn't catch the name of the man that was from your office that was first to arrive. They very quickly went to work and asked a lot of questions." Well, I can tell you who arrived. Louis Campos, Alex Priest, and Caitlin Robb from our public safety department arrived to help these folks. They were very professional and intensely working on figuring out what was going on with my wife. She was to the point that she did not know her last name or what month it was. They got fluids into her and did a lot of on-site testing. During this time, my 5 children were watching the whole thing unfold. I have to say, Lewis is a rock star. He took my kids aside and was explaining to them what was going on. He was doing everything that he could to help them understand that things were under control. He interjected humor. At one point, he brought my youngest a copy of the EKG and showed him the chart. He said, "This is your mom's heart saying hello and goodbye," showing him that her heart was working just fine. My wife came around and was doing better. The paramedics gave us a choice that they could release her to us or they could take her to the hospital for more tests. We chose for her to go to the hospital. On the way there, they were able to get another bag of fluid into her. Upon arriving at the hospital, Lewis proceeded to propose to the nurse there. He said that he would marry her, even though he is currently married, if they could get my wife to the wedding on time. He also told my wife to tell the kids that he meowed the whole way to the hospital. Lewis really helped the whole situation and was so great. To finish the story, the people at the hospital were great and got my wife feeling a lot better, and we got to the wedding ahead of the ceremony starting. All thanks to the wonderful team you have. As a side benefit, Lewis and his partner, I'm sorry I did not catch her name again, Caitlin, stopped by the wedding and got some cupcakes. I've attached a couple of photos that we took. I want to say that every member of your staff is so professional. They obviously are very competent individuals, but they are also great people. I'm in the business world, and when you have staff members that perform like that, they have great leadership. I really want to say thank you to you and your staff. Without them and their quick action, my wife may have missed her daughter's wedding. We will forever remember them. So, visitors get helped in many, many ways when they're on our destination. This group from Public Safety was amazing, and I wanted to share that with you. Our team has nominated them for an internal award we call One Org Award, and just to be clear, the last person that we nominated won, so we're hoping that we write really good, we are marketing people, right? We write good proposals, and we're hoping they win as well. Honestly, his letter tells the whole story. I don't need to do anything. It's a great story, but just an example of how on every level the people that come to our community are interacting with people who will decide whether they return. And that's why we focus so much energy on customer service, our Guest First program. But a big thank you. And Chris, I know you happen to also oversee the public safety team, but from our team to them, I wanted to, in this meeting, share my report was sharing that with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Tina. That's awesome. Those are the kind of stories that make you really proud of the people who work here, so thank you very much. All right, so that concludes the report of the Executive Director. Is there any for council information? Or?
There might be a few things in your packet for you to review, but I'll let you get to those when you have time.
Okay, good deal. How about any member items? Let's start with Ms. Cronin. Anything?
Thank you. I just have two real quick things. One is, Simone, thank you again. That event yesterday was fabulous. Your creative team and the visitor service team are so wonderful. And I always love the theming, but that one was particularly wonderful. And the way you tied in all the spots and the visitors and the numbers of years and everything was amazing. It was really, really a lot of fun. And the other thing is, Tam and I talked to, or communicated back and forth with Spencer Roach yesterday with regard to House Bill 7053, and he needs to hear from us. He hasn't heard from anybody. I was like the first person he heard from. And it was supposed to go to committee yesterday. It's been delayed, I think, until Tuesday. Yeah. It's delayed. It's delayed. We don't have a date, but it's been delayed. So, but anybody who's interested in that, we've gotten several notices on it. Please just send a text, or give him a phone call. He called us back immediately twice. But it's really important because he doesn't understand why it affects us, especially small businesses. He said, well, I don't know why would this affect you at all? So we really need to get hold of him. And others, but he's interested specifically. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
I have nothing today. Thank you.
So sorry that I couldn't be we had a council meeting, which typically we don't have on Wednesdays. That is one of my favorite events that you all hold. It feels so good. In response to Pam, it's not agendaed. We're in week 6. and we're going to knock on this to say it is mostly dad. But I've certainly reached out to the previous committee members and leads regarding that. And I know, Tam, thank you. You're sending information to us all the time. That's very helpful for us. But we're looking at that, saying since it has not been agended and we're almost through session, that it can come. We know that it can come through. So I'll follow up as well individually with him. Just a couple of things. May 3rd, we have Islands Night. So we'll be celebrating as we always do. And it's likely going to rain because it likely always does rain at Islands Night at the Twin Stadium. But it'll be our 30th Islands Night. And we'll also be celebrating the 61st anniversary of our local Chamber of Commerce. And unfortunately, since we will not be able to hold our July 4th events as we typically do at the City of Sanibel, which the world loves, this is kind of going to be our celebration. So if you're around, Islands Night at the Twin Stadium on May 3rd. And I was just really excited to note that and Sanibel has been recognized as one of the top 10 small towns to come to, and we were number 7, and this was actually a post-Ian. So we're very proud of that. We're excited about that. We know we're coming back. In response to saying, people staying out of the way, we are encouraging people to come. Our beaches are open. All of our beaches, with the exception of Lighthouse, are open. I will continue to encourage people to come to Lee County, to come to Sanibel, and to come to see what we are, because we're amazing. So thank you, everyone, for your continued support of us, and more good things to come every day.
All right, Councilman Stein.
Well, thank you. These are great meetings for me because it's kind of show and tell for Cape Coral. And we have got a lot of things going on. Last meeting, we talked about the new Cape Coral Quest app for the purpose of getting people to come and explore around Cape Coral. Since then, we've had 2,643 people sign up, 3,300 check-ins, 196 prizes have been claimed, 74 coupons have been redeemed. So even so early on, tremendous success in that effort. We've got parks that are opening. The GO bond that was passed and implemented in 2018. All the parks are beginning to open now. March 4th, we opened Del Prado Linear Park. March 31st, opened Gator Trails Park. We've got an opening on Friday at Cultural Park, and another ribbon cutting for Sands Park will happen on May 5th. While all the commercial entities have done the best that they can to clean up after Ian, there's still all the little stuff that remains. So we have an Earth Day community cleanup this coming Saturday from 8 to 12. It's got there's an app to sign up, and we're participating in actually collecting the trash. The community can put it into bags, have it, and there's on the app they can say, here's where we're leaving the trash, and we will come by and pick up the trash to clean up the city in the small stuff. We've got a Culture Fest, going to be an annual event that will be this Saturday. That'll be held at Cultural Park. And a tremendous effort between the City of Fort Myers and Cape Coral to deal with wastewater that needs to leave Fort Myers and the need for our freshwater canals in Cape Coral to need water. An interlocal agreement was put together, and we will set a Guinness Book of World Records by having a horizontal directional drill under the river between Cape Coral and Fort Myers to bring water that Fort Myers needs to get rid of to Cape Coral for us to put through our reclamation plant and fill the freshwater canals that does all the irrigation there. It'll be over 7,000 feet of under river drilling, which will set a Guinness Book of World Records. We ground broke on that March 23rd. It was expected to be completed by February of next year. It's ahead of schedule, and we actually may be working with Guinness Book of World Records to have a big event when that's completed. So an interesting thing to put out somehow, some way of a very unique coming together of two municipalities to meet the needs of both.
Very good. Mayor Alex.
Yeah, just a couple things. We have a new town manager that will be starting hopefully May 1st. His name is Andrew Hyatt. He was previously the town manager for Surfside when the building collapsed. So he'll be, again, hopefully starting May 1st. Our beach berm, emergency beach berm, we've got the sand placed out. We're now starting to spread it out. So we've seen many more beachgoers than we ever thought we'd see after the storm. So that was a good thing to see. But if you're driving through Estero Boulevard and you see those mountains and mountains of sand, that's the staging for getting the beach berm done. We're working as fast as we can to try to get it done before turtle season. Likely not going to happen, but we'll definitely have it done before hurricane season starts up again. The other thing was that we have, the legislature is working very, very hard for us up there. We were just up there last week. We advocated at the beginning, the town manager and myself went up and were really advocating for, revenue replacement, and is there something that they can do? So they put together with Senator Pasadomo and the group up there, really worked hard to get this bridge loan through that local municipalities can apply for. So we were the first to apply for it, and we're fortunate enough to get the first recipient of that. So that's giving us a little bit, hopefully we don't have to use it, but it's there just in case we need it. And the last thing is just a public service, speaking of Sanibel, to check your license plates on your vehicles. My daughter and I were taking a drive through Sanibel the other day, and Sanibel's finest pulled me over to tell me that I was driving a stolen vehicle. Well, someone had stolen the plate off my vehicle. That was from another car. They worked it out. They were very professional, but evidently that's been going around. So check your plates in your car to make sure they're the ones that belong to you. It could have been a very bad day, but again, they were very professional and very helpful. My daughter just kept saying, "Dad, are you going to jail?"
Yeah.
No, honey, Dad. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilman Foley?
Three things. One, I didn't know I was sitting next to a career criminal, so. We're celebrating our 23rd birthday on April the 29th, so Celebrate Bonita, and it's back full swing as it's always been, so we'll have 2 national acts there, and we're excited about that. 23 years that we celebrate in the city. There's a small boutique hotel, the Hyatt. I'm sure they'd be happy to accommodate folks that want to make it a weekend. We did celebrate a ribbon cutting, and I think it's a great story. The Fairfield Inn on Bonita Beach Road opened officially last week, and Ray Sindeli was good enough to be there and cut the ribbon. But somebody asked from the crowd, how many rooms do you have? And the sales director is Tom Obrecht, I believe, and Tom was good. Oh, he's here. Oh, goodness. He's stealth mode. And he was asked, how many rooms do you have? And he said 113. And somebody said, well, how many of them are full? And very quietly went 113. So we're glad to have him as a part of our family in Bonita. And the last thing, our beach access points are all open, so we're excited is that it's encouraging that that's coming back quickly. Our staff we're very proud of. Thank you.
Mr. Kramer?
Just an update on our resort. We've got 3 of our 4 pools now open. We're still missing our Lazy River pool, which we hope to have open by June 16th is our date that we're anticipating to get that back up and running. And then the only thing we'll have still outstanding after that date will be the beach access that we have, and we're still working on dates for that. But encouraging, even with missing still a major attraction that we have at the resort, we've been seeing some significant production for future business down the road from groups that are coming and touring the hotel and touring the area and booking into the future. Through the first quarter of this year, we set a record production for future business in the hotel's history. And I'm really excited to say that while September of this year was a year that we thought we'd probably just write off for group business, between September of this year and September of next year, we put $500,000 worth of group business on the books for September of this year and September of next year. So people have shorter memories, and that's a good thing. So.
Good job. All right. Yeah. Mr. Wells?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
All right, Mr. Lappy?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That's a great meeting, and I see no further business before us, so we're adjourned. Thank you.